I don't know if that's up too. It's not. Cool. All right. So back to it. I see these in all these different um, the emails that I get from both sides, both all kinds of campaigns, and I finally made contact with some. I don't even know who it is, but I finally made contact with somebody at Pals. I gotta see if I can look it up here. Let's see. Brandon Messina. You remember I told you about the guy that I friended on Facebook? Pretty hot guy. I mean, I'm not going to take that. That's why I friended him. Not too bright, but you uh, we got in another pissing match. And of course, I called him a Kool Aid slurper because that's essentially what Trump fans are. They don't do any research. If they did, they wouldn't be fans of the guy. It's not that hard. I mean, I'm not huge for either Biden or, which, by the way, Trump followers, he's no longer running for president, just in case you didn't hear it either. Because apparently Trump doesn't know that yet. Or Harris. Harris has really grown on me because she was less popular with me, particularly, and a lot of people, than Biden, who I thought would have won anyway. That's not a popular opinion, but I don't go jumping on bandwagons. I think for myself. But yeah, so Brandon Messina says, "Don't cry when Trump wins in a landslide." That's what I was just talking about. How that's so. I I can't see how that's going to happen. He's not giving interviews anymore because he screws them up. She is giving interviews. Doesn't exactly nail them, but at least she's talking. My Friday posse said, we all said that the winner of this election is going to be the one that stays out of the media, which is totally different from what usually happens. It's just that it was Trump versus Biden, and neither of them at the beginning of the summer were doing good with the media. Now we've got somebody that knows how to handle the media a little bit better, a lot better, I think. And so it's forcing Trump to expose himself, which he doesn't want to do. So they keep pushing the hate. I just have never seen so much counter movement for a political candidate. George H.W. Bush, who is not popular outside of the Republican Party, did not have this. George W. Bush, in his least popular periods, did not have this. More than 300 prominent Republicans have either not endorsed Trump or have specifically not endorsed Trump, but actually endorsed Kamala Harris. And I'm like, you don't think that's a clue? Okay, well, let's talk about some more. The entire Joint Chiefs from his administration has not only not endorsed him, which is normal, they are apolitical and they do not speak out for or against a candidate. They've seen it so important to do so that every single general or admiral, to include most famously General Milley, the chairman, has been anti-Trump. Of the 44 secretaries or other cabinet members that made up the various times of the Trump administration, 40 of them have not endorsed Trump, to include his own vice president. That is, without question, a historical first. I'm not going to block any of these people that if Trump wins, I want to talk to these people. What did you see in this guy? I want to know that now, because I got nothing. But I was in a Facebook conversation about a bunch of other haters. Something that I'm not seeing on Kamala Harris, by the way. Not close to the Trump levels. Nowhere close. And I just don't see... I don't see him having... Look at Florida, right here in Florida. It's almost purple. The swing for Scott is very close. And Kamala's closing the door on Trump. Even if Trump wins this state, there is no reason he should have won it with such a close margin. Even if Scott wins re-election, there is no reason that he should have spent this much money and this much energy and have it this close. Which, by the way, it's close. And now, like I said, Pal's coming on my show. We're going to see what we can do. But, and then Texas. Let me look that up, because that was another change. This was an actual change. Oh, there was a debate last night. Oh my God, how did I miss that? We're playing this. Oh, I gotta see how this turned out. Oh, he's calling on January 6th. Oh, we got to share this. Hold on, gang. I don't think I can do it if it's the same browser. So let me put this in another browser. Oh, and Cruz says that like smug. Oh, aren't I funny? Isn't this just gentlemanly debate? Dick. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
I was like, put a pin in it. We're done.
Ever laugh so hard you leave? Well, Always Discreet keeps me worry-free all set long by holding even my biggest gushes. With up to 0 leaks, wet feel, and odor.
See that.
So you're not just dry, you're laugh until you cry dry. Everyday protection for every level of leak. We've got you always. Always Discreet.
And
you can't be for the mob on January 6th and for the officers. You can't. And it's not funny because you're a threat to democracy. Sure. I was on the House floor when we went through the votes. I remember when you objected to the results in Arizona. Y'all at home might remember where you were on January 6th, what you were doing. I know where I was, and I know where he was. I remember when they told us to reach under our seats for these gas masks. I didn't know we had, because they had deployed tear gas in the rotunda. The officers locked all the doors. We barred the doors the president walks through to deliver the State of the Union with furniture that we usually use to hold paper. And I texted my wife, Allie, who was 7 months pregnant with our son, Cameron, and at home with our son, Jordan, who wasn't yet 2. Whatever happens, I love you. And I took off my suit jacket, and I was prepared to defend the House floor from the mob. At the same time, after he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the architect of the attempt to overthrow that election, when that mob came, Senator Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. And that's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. I really don't. This election is his accountability.
The far left, they're so angry right now. There's so much hatred. You know, Congressman.
That's not true. You need to go to a Kamala Harris rally, dude.
Allred just snarled at me, "You're a threat to democracy."
Yes.
Now, let me be clear. I don't know Congressman Allred. I have no animus for him personally. But I do know his voting record. His voting record is radical and extreme.
Why is it so close in Texas right now?
Well, it's getting closer and closer each time Ted Cruz has run for re-election, of course. Last time he ran against Beto O'Rourke, you remember, and he only lost by a few points. That was, of course, a midterm year. In midterm years, we see a much lower voter turnout. Usually, we're now in a presidential year. Voter turnout is going to be higher. I think that benefits Ted Cruz here. But again, Colin Allred is a strong candidate. He is someone that Senate Democrats are very high on, and that is why the DSCC, the Senate Democratic campaign arm, is pumping tons of money right now into Texas to try to go on offense here. And look, one of the main reasons they're doing that is because they've got this really slim majority, and if they lose just one of those battleground states to Republicans, their majority goes poof. Unless they pick up a seat in Texas or in Florida, which is another state they're trying to compete in, which, again, the odds are pretty slim for them there as well.
We'll find out. We love. All right. So there we go. Colin was leading at one point. There's the video, and we'll put that in the show notes. But Allred Cruz polls. Ted Cruz poll standings ahead of debate. That was 18 hours ago. Oh, the New Republic says, Republican poll warns this may finally be the end of Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is hanging on by a thread in his Texas Senate race, according to internal polling from a GOP super PAC. A memo from the Senate Leadership Fund, obtained by Politico, shows serious trouble for Cruz and several other Republicans in competitive states for the races this November. Indeed, the majority of the candidates listed are losing their races. Wow. I wonder if it says who the others are leading. Yeah, I heard about this too. So the next article on this Republic, I'll make sure the whole link's there. Two of Donald Trump's closest allies have an unhinged new version of how the 2020 election unfolded. Republican leaders want you to ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears as they rewrite their narrative about the 2020 presidential election. In the waning days leading into Election Day 2024, some of Trump's closest allies are refusing to yield to the truth that Trump lost the last election, a bad omen ahead of November. Because this is what he does. He lost Iowa to Ted Cruz. He called Ted Cruz a cheater. He lost the country to Joe Biden. He called Joe Biden a cheater. They planned that before the election. Don't take my word for it. Go to, and you're going to hear the commercial for it coming up next. Go to one of our sponsors. Brain farting, sorry. Go to the podcast that I'm going to advertise for in a couple minutes, couple seconds. The Whistleblowers. Listen to that, but these are all firsthand accounts. You don't need citations for that. The people you're hearing are the citations. They planned that from September of 2020 because they knew they were going to lose. When you go into an election like that, each party has so many people on the ground who know, who are in touch, who are doing their own polling, and they're legitimate polls. They are very honest with themselves. For example, back in 2004, I met one of my musical heroes at the time, growing up and such, John Bon Jovi, from the band by the same name, Bon Jovi. New Jersey guy. Spent the first 3 years of my own career in Philadelphia, not far from Jersey, although I never had the opportunity to go to either his or Bruce Springsteen's house for a fundraiser, where events like that are catered and pretty, like a really nice wedding reception. He and Bruce each, at their respective parties, would cater another tent just for the Secret Service and some other staff that would have access to that tent, not for the hundreds of people out on their front lawn. So we wouldn't have to wait in lines for food on our very quick breaks. When I met John, excuse me, I still got that creeping up on me. When I met John, he was supporting John Kerry's campaign in 2004, 20 years ago. And I was helping him into the limo. I was nice to him. He could tell I knew who he was. It was kind of a dick. And it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I was bummed that, you learn the private side of various celebrities that is not what you see on TV or wherever. That's why when I meet somebody in Walmart, like I've done just last week, I'm nice to them. As much as they might not like me, I'm nice to them. But anyway, kind of broke my heart about John Bon Jovi, because we're also talking about John Kerry. And some of the other guys told me about the whole catering thing and how he really takes care of us. And they also said he just got bad news. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, they talked to all the state representatives, and I don't mean like representatives to Congress or to a state legislature. I mean representatives to their campaign. And they know whether or not they're going to win whatever state going into the election, days before, weeks before. And they just found out that they're not going to beat and unseat George W. Bush. They don't believe that's going to happen. And so, having pumped in a lot of money, he was a little pissed. Okay. Point being, September of 2020, the Trump train knew it was about to be derailed. They knew it, and they knew that there was nothing they could do to change it. So they tried to force that change. Hence, Stop the Steal, January 6th, all that bullcrap. Now these same two asshats are trying to tell you we don't have a violence problem. And I'm not saying it's the guns, because I am pro Second Amendment. But we still got a problem. And they're telling you we don't have a problem from behind ballistic glass. That's a problem. So I got to take a break, though. Let me take a break. Let me familiarize myself with this because I just found this. And we were just going to kind of talk about the differences and the projection that the right does on a daily basis. Like, it's pretty sickening. But let me... Where's my stuff? I don't know why I can't. Oh, there we go. Oh, I need a producer. I need a producer so bad. All right. 99.1 WDJY and the rest of the Massive Media Network. We'll be back after these words.
From iHeart Podcasts.
What the hell is going on in here?
Everyone has their limits.
I'd never confronted a situation like this.
The numbers were being inflated and lied about and conflated.
I just thought it was just a really terrible, immoral thing for him to do.
A line they won't cross.
I was stunned, and I just said to him, no.
We're killing people. What exactly are we doing here?
I remember him saying, in this 007 evil villain kind of way, this is the beginning of a process.
You may never have to face that decision. When you find yourself at that line,
Thoughts racing, hearts racing, emotions are all over the place.
They could be harassed, they could be imprisoned, they could be killed.
Somebody needs to just, for once, give everybody the whole truth.
I'm like, this is evil.
and the only person who can sound the alarm is you.
She folded it up, put it in her pantyhose, and walked out of the building.
Yeah, I really am the world's dumbest criminal.
These are the whistleblowers.
I wasn't just going to sit silently by.
I was told you take your questioning black self and get it on up out of my facility because you're trouble.
The message is, if you are disloyal, if you speak out, you will pay.
This is what it's like when the president decides he wants to destroy you.
Bad things are going to happen to him. You're anti-American. You are a disgrace to our country. He should be prosecuted.
When power corrupts, conscience is the last line of defense.
Is it ever too late to do the right thing?
We talk about institutions, but they're really about individual people.
The responsibility drops in everybody's lap.
I'm Miles Taylor. The Whistleblowers premieres Thursday, July 13th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Miles Taylor and the Whistleblowers. I've referenced that plenty of times throughout Up the Middle, Both Sides Now, and Yerg's Tonight. He does an excellent job telling the stories of various people who blew the whistle on the Trump administration and their reasons why, personal and professional, as well as the consequences that these people paid to get the truth to the public. Check out the Whistleblowers on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The July date that he mentioned is from 2023, and season 1 is complete. It's excellent, and it's still very relevant, probably now more than ever. So I certainly recommend that you give it a look. See you again. So we're today live. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Don't lose your momentum. Get your ass in here. Talk to Anthony. Talk to the QR code on the door. That's all you got to do. Scan the QR code. And you can get set up to either keep or get back that Hernando Beach body that you once had or want to have or whatever it is. Momentum Fitness and Wellness, formerly Monster Mouse Fitness, on US 19 in Jasmine Estates, Pasco County. It's where I train. I really get behind all of my sponsors and affiliates, and they get behind us. In fact, that's why I'm here in their lobby right now, because Frontier's still figuring things out back in my hood. Anyway, back to it. So the narrative, and I got to listen to a commercial, the Whistleblowers commercial that I've listened to 100 times, and I finally realized that I got to edit that. Yerg's Tonight isn't a show anymore. It's this. So Martha Braditz from ABC News pressed J.D. Vance about this. I'm just going to assume that if I asked you 50 times whether he lost the election, you would not acknowledge that he did. I'm glad they're actually wording it right with their feet to the fire. Is that correct? Martha, you asked this question. I've been asked this question 10 times in the past couple of weeks. Of course, Donald Trump and I believe there were problems in 2020. You haven't asked about inflation, Vance, blah, blah, blah. She cuts him off. Why you won't say that? Why you won't say that he lost the election? Because, Martha, I believe that in 2020, when a big tech firms, it's excuses. Well, kudos to her, because I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You don't want to hear me. Oh. This might be another video, but God damn it. I don't think you can hear this if I do it on the same. Yeah, there's a clip from the debate of the dialogue that I just told you about. And because I'm using all these tabs on Chrome, which is where I'm also broadcasting from on video, I don't think that video is going to cause a loop. So I have to use another one instead of cutting and pasting. And I found this at the last minute, so I'm not as prepared for it, but it'll be in the show notes. There's a Twitter, and it's not X, it's Twitter clip of the debate. And Raditz is asking him, did he lose? And he sticks with there were issues. What I find funny is that there's all these issues causing Ted Cruz, a bunch of other pussies who couldn't admit to that loss, to say that we have to not ratify the election. But in that same election, on those same ballots that they don't want to ratify, other unpopular Republicans like Mitch McConnell and others won either first-time election or re-election. Now, how are those ballots okay if the ones that cost Trump his job legitimately? Because remember, his own Department of Homeland Security said, and I quote, "the most secure election in history." Not the most secure election in U.S. history, the most secure election in history. But we're going to believe a proven fraud and liar and his team? Where are they? Where's Rudy Giuliani? Where's Sidney Powell? Steve Bannon and his trendy long hair. I look so much better than he does, I don't mind saying. They're nowhere to be seen. Because either they've distanced him or he's distanced them. But without question, and this gets back to what I was talking about earlier today, the Trump train is off the tracks. He's not going to have anybody that he had in there before who would at least pretend to try to manage him and steer him in an intelligent direction. This time, it's going to be all yes men. It's going to be all people that don't care, that aren't going to try to preserve. And you say, you're over dramatizing. You're this. No, I was there in a conversation with one of his staffers. Let's say it was the Muslim ban. I don't know what it was exactly. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. So I don't want to say Muslim ban because I don't know. I don't remember that's what it was. But something stupid. I mean, take your pick. Seriously. Take your pick from this administration that they put forward. And I run into a guy named Luke. Luke was my staff counterpart who had no idea what he was doing. Luke was my staff counterpart for the Uniformed Services Inaugural Ball, a ball that was created because there were two inaugural balls at one location, one for the military and one for first responders. And it was a scheduling error. They put two events in one space. And so they got the people from each together and said, let's combine. Let's have one less event. This will be a bigger event, more joyous and celebratory that way. Let's do the Uniformed Services Ball. I was the site agent for that location. So because it was what's called an NSSE, National Special Security Event, the President's Detail and the Vice President's Detail fell under my umbrella. I was the boss for that. They were just another guest. The real protectee was the event. And so we're running around setting all kinds of things, preparing all kinds of things. I'm dealing with this staffer who has no clue. Nice guy, but he has just zero experience for doing a site that big. He should be doing like a book signing or something smaller, something more manageable. So they do something crazy. I run into Luke in a bar. We recognize each other. There's no animosity. It was what it was. We say hello. I ask him about whatever crazy event was going down. His exact words. This part I remember. It haunts me, honestly. You think that's crazy? Wait till you see us in our second and third term. Now, if you can even spell Constitution, you know that there is no such thing anymore. After FDR, who had 4 terms, was elected to 4 terms, died in the 4th one. There is no such thing as a third term anymore. It was tradition up to that point that after a second term, based on the tradition set by George Washington, you did not run for a third term. FDR did, due to the times, was elected, did a 4th one, and as such, Truman, who took over, was not reelected. Well, actually, he was, but then after, it was not reelected. Because there's the famous photo of him holding a newspaper that says Dewey wins. He ran against Thomas Dewey. Going to bed that night, it looked like Dewey was going to win. Votes finished counting overnight, and the Electoral College changed directions. And so the next morning, after newspapers were already printed, and the world got the news that Truman was reelected, these papers were already out. But then after that, he left, and I think it was Eisenhower that was next. Anyway, wait till you see us in our second and third term. How does that not scare you? And I'm not trying to, do the sensationalizing or fear-mongering. I was there. That was a conversation I took part in with regards to the Trump administration. And if you listen to the podcast that we just advertised, you'll hear the same stories. Is he coming up? This guy had no intention of leaving on January of 2021. So, yeah, we didn't get to morning motivation or Pierre's pot today. A little disheveled with the internet situation, but we'll bring that back tomorrow. Friday, tune in Friday, 11 a.m., same time every day, but definitely tune in Friday. Jack Mariano from, I think it's District 5 of Pasco County's county commissioners, running for re-election. He's going to be in to talk about some things about Pasco County, and particularly about the response to Helene and Milton. And also, I got some other things that are a little bit more local, but it is one of the things we cover is local news. So we'll ask him about those as well. Friday, this coming Friday, 11, wherever you get us, and we'll have Insta and Insta. What are we off today? Instagram's not on today, and Rumble. We're also looking into, apparently you can do the same thing like we do with Twitter, where we do video on Twitter. Apparently you can do the same thing on Tumblr. No, not Tumblr. Truth Social, the other MAGA thing. And we try to be on those platforms because we are balanced, fair and balanced. Remember those words? We are fair and balanced. And we do want to reach out to both sides. So Truth Social in the near future, as well as KSHP. What the hell's that? What? Okay. If you follow where the W, and whatever, the call letters for a radio or TV station, anything west of the Mississippi starts with the letter K. East of the Mississippi is W. This will be our first Western station. We're in talks with them. We want to get into swing state, before the election, so at least we can get some sort of presence and get good conversation going. I was a guest on a show called Pushing the Limits, hosted by Brian Shapiro. Really good conversation, really good time, and he introduced me to that station. So we're working on it. That's it, gang. We got to get moving. I'm going to be helping Anthony with a podcast episode of his after this. I'll be back here tomorrow from Momentum Fitness and Wellness, and also same usual time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. And we'll see you for another hour, 2 hours on Friday. Till then, keep talking. You've been up the middle. We'll see you again, everybody.
listens for 18 minutes. The average fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes.
How can that be?
Answer most commonly given. I want to see what he'll say next.
All right, okay, fine. But what about the people who hate Yergs?
Good point. The average skater listens for 2.5 hours a day.
Look, but if they hate him, why do they listen?
Most common answer, I want to see what he'll say next.